Broadcasting live from RISKWORLD 2022 at the Moscone Center in San Francisco, it's time for Workplace MVP, brought to you by R3 Continuum, a global leader in helping workplaces thrive during disruptive times. Now, here's your host.
Hi, everyone. Your host, Jamie Gassmann here, coming to you from the RISKWORLD 2022 R3 Continuum booth, our show sponsor. And joining me is Marcos Iglesias from the Travelers Insurance Group. Welcome to the show, Marcos.
So good to be with you, Jamie. Thank you.
You're very welcome. Now, tell us, what is your role at Travelers? What do you do for them?
Sure. So at Travelers, I'm the Chief Medical Director, and I sit in the work comp product team. And we have a team that is called the Medical Innovation and Strategy Team. So it's myself and 3 nurses, and we help to set some of the strategy around the work that we do in the medical space, primarily in workers' comp, and we support some other lines of business as well. And our goal is really to try to make sure that we deliver the best medical care to our customers' injured employees.
Amazing. And so, what are some of the trending or some of the things that you guys are seeing that are kind of a focus for some of the customers that you carry right now?
Yeah, so in the past 2 years, as you know, a lot has happened, not only COVID, but labor shortages. And so we're very focused on helping injured employees regain full function so that they can go back to work, so that they feel better about themselves, they get over their injury, but they're also able to contribute to what their employers need them to do. So it's a win-win for everybody.
Absolutely. So are you seeing anything shifting with more of this remote work in terms of injuries coming through, or is it more kind of staying stagnant and kind of the same as before?
Not necessarily. We see the same types of injuries, the same type of same type of issues surrounding those injuries. It is a little bit more challenging for some employers to bring people back to the workplace, but not impossible, and we're trying to help them do that.
Yeah, awesome. And I know you are presenting at this year's RIMS conference. So talk to me a little bit about the topic that you're presenting on.
Yeah, so Linda Foy and I presented yesterday, and we presented on engaging the injured employee in a holistic fashion to help them recover. So the idea here is that we have a tremendous responsibility to those injured employees to help them not just in terms of their medical condition, the injury that they came with, but everything else that's going around them which contributes to the injury or to their recovery. So I'm talking about things like they may be afraid of re-injury, they may be afraid of activity, they may have issues like they're not sleeping well. So all these things that are not part of the injury but may be barriers to their recovery. We're trying to set up processes, we're trying to set up programs that identify those injured employees that are at risk and then match them with a solution to try to help them out.
Oh, that's going to be really interesting because I imagine if somebody is home on a work comp injury and there's things that are then happening in their personal life on top of that. I'm sure there could be some I'm going to say the word, but I might stumble over myself. Like catastrophic, like it kind of intensifies basically that injury.
Yeah, just think of it. The focus may not be just the ankle sprain or the low back. Obviously, that's a big part of that employee's experience, but so much else is going on. In the last year, they've had to worry about COVID. Oftentimes they worry, am I going to lose my job? Will I be able to afford my next mortgage payment? How will I take care of my family? Things like that. And oftentimes what we've seen is that it's those issues that become the real barrier to returning to function, not just at work, but in every aspect of their lives. So it's not just the ankle sprain, the back sprain. It's some of these things, and they just need some help getting over it.
Yeah, so it's almost like, you can kind of support them in a different way.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
yes.
More getting to, some of that emotional support, kind of creating that, sense of safety.
Yeah, it's emotional, it's social. Some of the interventions might be making sure that they have transportation to get to work. So a lot of things that we can do. It makes, in my view, I think it makes injured employees feel more cared for. Somebody's listening to them, somebody is looking after them, and it's a very rewarding experience for us.
Yeah, amazing. So, in looking at your presentation, I know you presented yesterday, if there were like 3 areas or takeaways that you wanted the audience to be left with that they could bring back to their organization, what would those areas be?
I think what we've been talking about, an injury is a concerning time for any employee, but there's so many other things going on. So make sure you look at that employee holistically. And the best way of doing that is really by sitting down with them and listening. They'll tell you usually what else is going on. They'll tell you about some of these barriers, which then gives you an opportunity not only to engage with them and make them feel listened to, but it gives you an opportunity to intervene and to help them out. So that's the first thing. One of the things that I give as a tip that I think no matter who you are, you're a supervisor, you're a medical provider, you're a claim adjuster, a nurse, I always ask the employee, when do you think you'll return to work? I call that the one question. Because their answer to that question is not only highly predictive of when they do go back to work, but it may also uncover the real barrier for their not returning to work. So, for example, if I ask John, when do you think you'll return to work? His answer is, Monday morning. I'll be less concerned than if John says in 4 weeks, right? That may be a risk factor. That may point to the fact that he's not going to recover quickly. And then my next question will be, why do you think it'll take you 4 weeks? Yeah. And that might uncover the real barrier. Maybe John crashed his car or his car is totaled. He doesn't have transportation to get to work. Now that's the barrier and not his neck pain.
Yeah, interesting. And I think there's so much power in that dialogue. And like active listening, employees really appreciate that opportunity to have somebody who cares.
Yeah,
hear them out.
A sad statistic from my practice days many years ago tells us that doctors will usually interrupt the patient that they're seeing within 8 seconds. And I can tell you that a lot of patients don't feel listened to by a host of people, by their doctor, by other care providers. So we have an opportunity as a supervisor, as an employer, as a friend, as a claim professional, to just sit down, let them talk, let them tell us what's going on, which then gives us that opportunity to hold their hand and bring them along.
Yeah, and that helps with retention at the end of the day as well. When you're giving that employee that opportunity to give some transparency, and you're creating that environment of safety where they can talk about it. It just goes so far in so many different ways, not only from getting them back to work, to your point, but just in them being, considering you that employer that cares and values you as that employee. It helps with that retention overall.
Absolutely. It's a holistic approach.
Yeah.
At Travelers, we call it the custom care approach. It's the injured employee at the center. Because they're the ones with the injury. They're the ones with the claim. Of course, everybody else, is part of it as well. And we try to support everyone, every stakeholder in every claim that we have.
Let's the human back into the process, it sounds like. I love that.
It's what I like doing as a doctor.
Oh, wonderful. It has been an absolute pleasure having you on the show. Thank you so much. If somebody wanted to get a hold of you and learn a little bit more about what Travelers, about the custom care program or anything that you do, or to connect with you further, to learn a little bit more from you, how would they do that?
Well, our travelers.com website has a host of information about what we do, and not only in workers' compensation, but in all of our lines of business. And if you'd like to get a hold of me, I'm sure you can find me on the website or on LinkedIn, and I'd be happy to get in touch with you.
Wonderful. Thank you again. It's been a pleasure for taking time out of your busy schedule here at the conference. We appreciate having you on the show.
Thanks so much, Jamie. Pleasure.
Thank you for joining us on Workplace MVP. R3 Continuum is a proud sponsor of this show and is delighted to celebrate most valuable professionals who work diligently to secure safe workplaces where employees can thrive.